Welcome back to I'll Tell You When You're Older. How you doing, Mom? I think that you've fallen subject to a lot of scams. Is this a generation thing? Like your generation literally like I feel like you're always falling for the scams. Like you texted our group chat this morning and all you had was like someone trying to hack your phone, sending for the double authentication and like why do I feel like you're always getting something hacked?
No, who knows what I press, what I do? It's beyond me. Life was much simpler. Part of these conversations sometimes or what was simpler, life was simpler before this thing.
That's fair. But
Just
you do
saying.
know to never fall for like, if someone like they're getting crazy now with like the scams where people will call you and it'll almost be like AI, and it could be like a FaceTime of me or a FaceTime of one of the twins, and it'll make it seem like we got kidnapped or something, and then like people are actually believing it. I feel like you'd fall for something like that.
That I would not fall for. That one I think I've got down. But I appreciate the warning.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. On another note, today we're talking about relationships. I guess things that like I'm pretty good at. Well, now I'm pretty good at, but like I want to talk about the relationships that we thought would last forever, first loves, even friendships. Like I've lost like one of my closest friends during chapters. Friendship breakups are just as hard as I feel like romantic relationship breakups are. Maybe even talk about the people who we stayed with too long, the heartbreaks also that we felt like would ruin us, but actually just ruined us for
Oof.
maybe a period of time.
Yes. Learn from. I like to think of it as
Yeah.
learned from.
Learn from. That is
Yeah.
something I'll always ask my clients. I'm like, "This was such a" they'll be like, "This was such a waste of time," and I remind them, like, nothing's really a waste of time because I think that if we force ourselves, we could probably always find a lesson in said experience.
I think so. I do think so. Even in some of the worst experiences, I think we can always learn a lesson, and even as crazy as it sounds, find something to be grateful for from every experience.
I think so too. But I think that, like, when it comes to our generational differences, I don't know about you guys. I have, like, on my notes here, I wanna talk about, like, whether you guys were passing notes in class or, like, you said the other day that you had to, like, wait by the landline for, like, someone to call you, and, like,
Right.
there were no cell phones or texting, and for me, it was stalking people's, like, AIM away messages. I wrote, like, a Substack the other day about AIM Messenger and how it created, like, relationship anxiety, I feel like, in my generation. Now it's more like checking if they watched your Instagram story and if they're stalking your social media profiles or like
Right.
seeing someone type out a text message and then it's just like dot, 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 and then they disappear.
No, what's worse, I think today it might be even harder for sure,
I
having
think it's
all that
harder.
technology.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you talk about passing notes, I'm guessing you're thinking about like junior high or
Yeah.
high school. Well, you remember, I went to an all-girls school for
Oh,
13 years, so
yeah.
not a whole lot
Duh.
of note passing.
Duh. Because I remember getting in trouble, like, for passing notes with guys in my class and stuff like that, but, like, I also have a whole lot of notes even with my girlfriends.
I mean, in terms of, well, again, I guess we have to qualify which relations we're talking about, romantic relationships or
Friendship.
friendship relationships. I mean, you were unique. You and I could not have had as different of romantic backgrounds,
Yeah.
like polar opposites, because you had your first boyfriend in kindergarten, and I think you had a boyfriend every year after that.
Okay,
Do you mean?
versions of boyfriends. Yes, yes, I did. Maybe that's, like, some deeply rooted thing, but listen, it's okay. I don't know. I loved my first little boyfriend. I remember that. I remember him still to this day.
Well, sadly, he was one of your losses as well. How odd is that?
It's just
You've
weird.
had
It
a
was less hard
uh,
than it was weird because, like, I did not expect to find out that he passed, like, that's just kind of crazy for sure. I remember our first kiss under a mistletoe, like, how were we even allowed to kiss under a mistletoe at, like, age of 5?
I have no idea, but he liked you up until, like, 7th grade.
I know,
He came back trying to, like
he did, I know, and I remember I did have boyfriends, but, like, when you have boyfriends in middle school, it's like they last for, like, an hour, and it's like, you have a crush on you, and then it's, like, a big deal when you give someone a hug, it's like, "Oh my god, so and so hugged me?" Like, big deal.
Right. Yeah, see, I didn't have any of that kind of young love, so
Do
to
you
speak.
feel like that hindered your ability with relationships moving forward, or like it didn't impact anything?
Yeah, I mean, because I went into college and life very inexperienced with having relationships. Between going to an all-girls school, first of all, it's very different. My
Yeah.
relationships really were my girlfriends, and they still are my lifelong best friends. My long-term girlfriends. But also, by the time junior high and high school, when and a lot of my friends never had boyfriends throughout all of high school. You
Well,
know,
how would you have
but
met, like, boyfriends? Like, did you obviously had, like, boys' schools that were close by that you would, like, go to dances with and, like,
yeah,
socialize with, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Like Harvard, which was our like boys' school,
yeah,
they combined back in '91, so now it's Harvard Westlake.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, we would meet the boys from there, but still a lot of times things didn't really click. And then, of course, the a lot of my friends started wanting to date Chrissy's friends because our house growing up, as you may recall, was, the party house. Everyone
Yeah.
came to our house. And your uncle, my brother, he was 3 years older. And so, of course, all my girlfriends would come to my house to get to know Chrissy's friends, but they weren't looking at me. I mean, at that time, Chris was 6'3", football player, weightlifter. I was off here. I was off bounds.
So were they using you? Do you think, like, you had any friends that maybe you're not friends with today that, like, used you just to kinda get close to Unky?
No, because we had been close like from not even junior high, some of them from elementary school.
Was it
So
weird that they would
before.
hook up with your brother? Because I know Paul wouldn't even let his friends, like, near Paige with, like, a 10-foot pole, like, that was off limits for
Right. Well, none of them actually hooked up with Chrissy until only one did way after school. But yeah, none of them actually hooked up with Chrissy. It was more his friends.
You said your house was the party house, so how did we go from you growing up with your house being the party house to, like, me being sent to rehab for having weed in my car? That's a whole 'nother story, obviously, but, like, we'll save that for another episode, but, like, huge differences there.
Because I see the nutters that happened from us growing up in a party house. It was very different. Again, this is a little off the relationships topic, but it was very different back then. You drank. I mean, this was in the '70s. No one carded. Restaurants didn't card you. At 16, we got served at every restaurant.
Oh,
One of my closest friends, and she had this huge Sweet 16.
yeah,
And so many of the people weren't 16 yet. And the restaurants she had us at, they were serving us alcohol at a Sweet 16 party. So they
that
knew
is
we were not.
diabolical.
It was everywhere. We never got carded. Uh, it was so bizarre.
I
Parents were
mean,
giving alcohol. Mom and dad served alcohol at my Sweet 16. Throughout high school, we always had like a New Year's Eve, big New Year's Eve party.
yeah.
They didn't even think twice about serving alcohol.
I wonder, like, why that changed over time, like, maybe driving? Like, cause like, did you guys ever like, the driving aspect of, like, being out drinking and then driving and that kind of thing? Things got so much stricter, but, like, I only, like, bring up alcohol and partying because my first boyfriend, he was so against partying when I first met him. Like, if I drank, if I smoked, like, if I hung out with people who did do that, he was gonna break up with me. Like, he was not about that life whatsoever.
I loved him so much.
I feel like
What
it's
mom would not what mom would not love that for her daughter's first real boyfriend?
listen, that's fair, but I do think, like, listen, I loved him and he was, like, my first love. He was a great first boyfriend, right? And I think, like, our first loves feel very intense because we're experiencing all those feelings for the first time. We're doing firsts for the first time. But I was very intense in that relationship dynamic. Like, I could see why now I reflect back and see why he broke up with me. He didn't have to do it on my 18th birthday, but, like,
No, that was bad.
I could see why he did it because I got to a point in, like, the dynamic since he went to another school. He went to the rival school. I didn't see him every day. I became so codependent on him, and, like, I would get mad when he would go and hang out with his friends, and then I would, like, get really upset and start fights, and, like, this anxious attachment started to develop, and I don't know if it was because it was my first real love or because I thought that's what love was supposed to be back then, but, like, I could see how over the years I 100% pushed him away for sure.
Right. I could understand that. But from the outside looking in as a parent, again, there was some crazy stuff happening in your generation in school as well.
Mhm.
And I think it was a safe, nurturing for the most part relationship for your friend. It was long. I mean, it was
Yeah, 4
3
years.
years. You made part of high school.
Yeah, well, we met on, like, that 8th grade trip that we take to, like, Six Flags. We built our relationship on AIM. I remember my handle was, like, NYC girl, which is weird because like, I never even wanted to move to New York City at that point, like, so weird
Right.
foreshadowing.
Totally. Yeah.
But,
Really weird.
yeah, I don't know. He was a good guy. He was definitely a good guy. He had
Yeah.
good friends, and, like, we were just, like, early. We were young. We were 14 to 18, and then, he, of course, wanted to start hooking up with other girls, and I had a crush on who, I think all of high school, so I always flirted with him behind the scenes.
Yes. Yes, you did.
I know, I know. Was your first love intense? Like, do you remember your first love? Like, it wasn't in high school, obviously, like, college, yeah? After college, really? You didn't date anybody in
But
college?
I dated? No.
Are you afraid to say hooked up and had sex with?
It might and that's weird too. My college wasn't like a date none of us had actual long a few, I would never say none. There was like
Yeah.
a handful that had long-term boyfriends, but none of my main group,
Yeah.
um, uh, college friends had long-term boyfriends either. So once I graduated from college, I didn't have my first real boyfriend till after that, till
Huh.
I moved to New York.
So how'd you guys meet?
My first boyfriend,
Yeah.
we met through one of my best friends from college,
Okay,
who
so, like,
became one of my best
mutual
friends when I moved to New York.
friends. Okay. Because there
Exactly,
was no online
exactly.
dating, obviously, so I always wonder, like, how people meet each other in the wild back then, like, I almost feel like it's better. Online dating I met Anthony, my husband, on online dating, though,
Right.
but I couldn't have even imagined meeting people in real life around that time frame when I did meet Anthony. I just, like, could not imagine, like, going up to someone at a bar or, something like that.
It was actually kind of fun, because we would meet through friends. Some people met through work. A lot of people met through work,
That's fair.
back then.
Yeah.
I didn't, of course, my work. I was teaching preschool and I was
That
in school because I just
Yep.
was always in school.
Yeah.
Um, so we meet through friends. I'll have some friends who did meet, other people in bars, some
Yeah.
who have married the people they met in bars. But mostly through friends, through work, and yeah, just out and about.
Do you think it's
Walking their dog.
Do you wanna tell that story? Or shall I briefly tell that story?
Well, I met your father,
Uh-huh.
um, walking our he was, I was hanging out, um, talking to a friend on Columbus Avenue, some of you know, street back in New York, and, your father walked by. He had just gotten a new dog, Kuma, who became
Love
one of the loves
Karma.
of our lives, right? His little baby Akita, and, he was cute. The dog was too, so was your father.
Ugh, God.
And so he and I talked for a little bit, and then he went off into the park. And it just so happened the friend I was with was talking to, he was gonna go get a dog at the pound that weekend anyway.
So you didn't have a dog.
I did not
Let's
have a
just
dog
make
yet.
that very clear. You did not have a dog.
I did not,
Okay.
but I was going to the pound anyway with my friend. And so I did see a dog who was adorable. I named him Lester. I said, "Hey, that guy was cute. Maybe if I take this dog to the park, I'll meet him." So me and Lester we lived right near a dog park. It was right at 69th.
Yeah.
The entrance to the park at 69th, West
Mhm.
69th. And I met your dad in the dog park.
So did you talk to him first, or did he come up to you first?
He came up to me first, but because this other guy who I had just dated, which was a horrible situation, who also had a dog, came up to me in the park and was talking to me, and I didn't even want to talk to him because we had broken up. And then 5 minutes later, not even, as soon as he walked away, your dad came up to me and said, I've seen that guy around the park and he's really seems to be an asshole. I would stay away from him if I were you. And I said, well, you told me about a month too late, but thanks for the messaging.
Oh my God.
And so then he and I started talking. And then 5 years later, you came along.
That is actually, I mean, it's a very romantic story. I think it's actually a very cute story.
Right? Because now that we know, 40 years later that dad's a savior. He thinks he's a savior of everyone. Women,
Yeah, literally. Oh my God. I
right?
literally just now put that two into, because I didn't know that he was like saving you from this guy. Literally every person that he has dated, he's felt the need to like help and or save them to make himself feel better about himself, let's just say.
He started at 22.
That
Yeah.
wait, you guys met at 22?
He was, well, I mean, maybe 23 and 24, or he was 22, I was 24. He's 2 years
Yeah.
younger than me.
Do you think that he was your first love? Like, didn't you have a first love before that?
No, definitely the guy before that was my first love,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it always like the second one after our first loves that are like the most toxic and the most crazy? Because that's how it was for me with KO. Like, that's what it was like with him, you
Right.
know? It's like the second relationship, it's so much more toxic and unhealthy. And that's a really weird pattern that I feel like we have aligned on for some reason.
I hadn't even thought about that, but I think you're probably right. Yeah. Maybe it's the feeling of the rejection from our first love, or we're so unreal. I mean, it was vastly different. You met your first love when you were only,
14.
what, 13, 14.
Yeah.
I was, 22 already before I
Still
had my
young
first love.
though, but it's still young. I mean, like,
Yeah.
now being 36, like, 22 feels like I was such a baby during that time. Like, if
Yeah.
I knew then what I knew now, like, I would have very much so, escaped that situation much earlier. Oh,
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. First loves are interesting things because usually our first love is also our first heartbreak, right?
I think so. I mean, heartbreak is an actual real thing. Like, I think that our hearts actually break and they hurt, and, like, I think I saw someone talk about, I think I saw a video of someone saying, yeah, like, your heart does actually break, but when it breaks, it's just making room for, like, new things and new loves to fill that space. Like, I thought that that was super interesting because I feel like I didn't think I was gonna survive the heartbreak that I went through. Like, I literally thought that no one was ever gonna love me again. He was the only person that was out there for me, but I think he, like, brainwashed me to think that because he made me feel so bad about myself. Like, why would I believe that anybody else could ever, like, love me in the way that he chose and loved me?
Right. But sadly, that wasn't and I don't think I know this is terrible verbiage, but the norm I mean, because he was just second love. I mean, obviously, high school, the eighth grade one,
Yeah.
he was your first love in many ways, that pure, innocent, almost like adorable first love.
I mean, he made me
This
a
one,
PowerPoint. My first boyfriend made me that little PowerPoint. Remember with the Seal song, "Touched by a Rose," of, like, all these cute little photos of us to the Seal song.
was sweet. And then you went as 180 as you can get to the bad boy. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
let's
did.
be real. He was
Yeah,
the bad, 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 bad boy of
yeah,
school.
yeah.
And you were like the good girl of school,
Yeah,
you
I had
know?
never gotten in trouble before, like, and like I had said before, like, I never drank, I never smoked, I never tried drugs or
Yeah.
anything because he didn't want me to, but then once I started dating, um, KO, literally within, like, the first couple of months, I was, like, smoking weed, I was sneaking out, I was partying until all hours of the night because that's just what him and his friends did, and I wanted to
Right.
fit in
You were a
so
different
bad.
person.
Yeah,
And we all saw it, and we all saw the train wreck happening. But I think after that first one, I think and you're the relationship boss, you would know with your clients, especially when you're the one broken up with,
yeah,
there's like this, all of a sudden you start with the self-doubt and this kind of hole, and we start questioning ourselves. And unfortunately, women don't talk to each other in the right way. I don't think about this. And so then we're seeking that next love to fulfill that
yeah,
pain because we don't trust ourselves, or hopefully your generation is a little better at it than my generation with everything.
yeah.
um, and feeling good about ourselves. So we're just seeking for something to replace that hole, to replace that. What was wrong with me
Yeah.
that they broke up with?
Yeah. So, did your first love break up with you? I didn't know that he broke up with you.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Like a million times. Like we would break up, get back together.
That's not healthy in itself, I feel like, the whole dynamic of breaking up, but we're young, and so it's, like, a natural dynamic when we're, like, 22 for us to break up and get back together a million times. But was it the same issue that you guys kept breaking up and getting back together about, or were they different things every time?
The same issue. He really wanted to focus on his career and, and didn't want to get serious.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And he did exactly that. He didn't get married or have a real serious relationship until he was in his 30s and extremely successful with his career.
I mean, it hurts, but at least that's kind of like a normal, I feel like, trajectory around that age, why we end up breaking up with people to begin with.
Right. But we maintained friends for years and years because we were also in the same friend group. Since I
Yeah,
met him through
that's
a
the problem
friend,
with meeting people within your friend group is when you do break up, you still have to see them all the time.
I know it was like a Ross and Rachel vibe. Like we would break up, and then we'd still be with our friends. Then we'd get back together.
Oh god, but when I got broken up with, how you said to fill the voids, I didn't wait longer than 24 hours, not even 5 hours before texting KO and being like, "We broke up." Because I knew in my brain, like, even the flirtation that we had and the relationship that we had and our dynamic, I knew that he would jump on the opportunity to fill that void in a heartbeat. Did I think it would turn into an actual relationship? No, but I knew that he would hook up with me, and I knew that it would piss off my ex the most because he hated him.
Right.
They knew each other from playing sports together, and I just
Right.
knew that this was gonna be the one thing that pissed him off the most and made me feel the best about myself, because KO was the kinda guy, like, no one locked him in. You know what I mean? Like, he was, like,
Right.
always hooking up with a bunch of people, and so I just knew that he would choose me, and so I just wanted to be chosen.
I get that, and that, yeah, maybe I don't know if that's right for this podcast, but that was a tough relationship for me as a mom
Yeah,
to watch. It
yeah,
was really heartbreaking, and I think when we look back on our relationship, that was the worst our relationship got, the times during that you were dating
yeah,
him.
I know.
Yeah.
Because no one could say anything to me, which is why I also had that strain with one of my friends who I have broken up with around the time I did get married. Like, she would always come to me and be like, "I can't be your friend if you're gonna keep doing this," and he treated her really badly too, and I just stood by, and I didn't, like, stick
Yeah.
up for her enough, and I didn't and I should have ended that relationship not only with how he chose to spoke to me, with how he spoke to my friends as well, but there was nothing
Right.
anybody could say to me, not you, not her, not the twins. I had to, like, figure that out on my own, and, like, yeah, it takes hitting complete rock bottom, but, like, sometimes
Yeah.
that's what's needed and able to move on. Um, and even still moving on from that was really weird and hard, and it took way longer than it should.
It did. I know. I was always concerned, and thank goodness your brother had enough sense to know that KO could have beat the crap out of him. Otherwise, he would have tried to beat the crap out of KO.
Yeah, listen, I don't recommend anyone try to take him on, but I appreciate the thought behind it that would have mattered. But I even think that, like, breakups for my generation, like, are harder, not harder, that's mean to say. They're still hard, but, like, with social media and with the internet, like, unless we decide we're gonna block them or unfollow them and completely, like, remove them from everything that is consumed in our phone, like, we still see them, kinda like how you still saw him in your friend group, like,
Right.
you gotta, like, really disconnect in order to move on from somebody, I feel like. Like, you can't see them, you can't talk to them, you have to, like, really just
Right.
kinda, like, start a fresh new life. I don't know.
I know that's hard. I mean, I think everything's a little harder, or at least different these days with social media. Obviously, I think you know, this will probably come up in everything we
It
talk
will.
about if we're kind of comparing our generations.
Yeah, I know.
Um, dating and relationships was hard back then. We couldn't text. We didn't know where people were. We just had to wait and go home and check our voicemail
Yeah, that's
machine to
crazy.
see if they called us. It was, and so I don't know if it's better to see them on social and at least know what they're doing or to not know what they're doing?
I think it's hard either way because, like, well, when you see it, it's like you can see if that they're clearly ignoring you when you see that they're on social media and, like, doing stuff, and that hurts within itself. I think, though, it's also hard when you have to call a landline and they're not responding and or answering, so then our brains make up every possible what if scenario that could ever even
Yep.
exist because we don't have, like, the proof in front of our face of what's actually going on.
Which can lead us after several glasses of wine to do some really stupid things back in the 80s.
Oh, what was one of those stupid things?
Well, because if you can't reach someone, then you try to reach them by a payphone, and they've kind of this is said boyfriend that, it's Friday night, they just wanted to hang out and they weren't in the mood to go out. But then you call and there's no answer.
So they're out.
And
I know that
then,
they went out.
of course, that's what you're thinking. So perhaps if one were to have several glasses of wine at that point, three, maybe four, maybe a
Oh.
martini,
Oh,
um, your brain gets crazy and it may lead, I will not confirm or deny, to someone hopping in a cab from all the way up on the Upper West Side, if you know New York,
yeah.
and taking it all the way down to Brooklyn just to pop by to see if they really are home.
Oh, I was in the neighborhood between the Upper West Side and Brooklyn. Pop by. I'm gonna pop by and change boroughs real quick.
Do not suggest it. That led to one of the big breakups. He
Really?
was
So
home. He was home just doing his laundry, and apparently he really did just want a Friday night in.
oh my
But
god.
when you're insecure with the relationship to begin with, your mind goes cray cray. So yeah, so I don't suggest just hopping in a cab and going down 2 or 3 boroughs to check in on your husband, your boyfriend.
Yeah,
But we had no other,
no other way
you
of
know.
doing it. But to be fair, I even did that. I did that still. But when you're not in a secure relationship, it does lead to that, and I think that we get looked at as, like, the crazy ones, I put this in quotes if you're not watching, because we drove down there and our insecurities got the best
Right.
of us, but I think that what made us not feel so secure in that relationship that even led us to have to do those things to begin with, like, were you creating
Good
a safe
point.
environment? Were you actually communicating? Or in your circumstance, he was breaking up with you every kind of couple of months, and same with me, except he
Right.
was just cheating on me, like, every weekend.
Exactly. It's
So there's
hard,
always
those
a reason.
relationships.
Oh,
Yeah, but I think I think what's cool though is like this person has still been off and on in my life as a truly as a friend
yeah.
now for 40 some years,
I
you
mean, I
know?
admire that
And
because
so
I don't think that happens majority of the time.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So I think there's people that like when we're talking about relationships and do they last forever? I think there are some people that you are just bonded to that do last forever, no matter the circumstances. And if you're meant to be friends, whether you believe in past life friends or soulmates, not necessarily just romantic, but people who are meant to be in your life, I think they remain.
I know. I saw some quote or someone talking about how, like, once someone has fulfilled their purpose in your life, you'll never see them again. So I find it interesting the people who end up staying in our life for forever, because it's so easy to not talk to people, especially as we grow up and get older and move and, like, change lives and people have kids and get married and stuff like that. I wanna talk about the choices because I had a call with a client the other day, and he is stuck in, like, the grass is greener mentality, right? So, like, when it comes to, like, relationships and dating, like, he's like, "How do you know that you're with the one that's, like, worth not dating all these other people for?" And he's just like, "How do you know? How do you know? How do you know?" And I'm like, "I don't really know how to logically communicate the
Mhm.
how do you know." Um, but I feel like it's just like a feeling, and he doesn't know how to disconnect himself from his head to his heart and or his gut. And I think
Mhm.
online dating does not help with that because he can consistently just get online and swipe and think that he's gonna find someone better. He keeps saying, "What if I find someone better?
Interesting.
What if I find someone that has everything that I'm looking for and checks off all the boxes and all these different things?" But I feel like you guys weren't worried about grass is greener, something better, someone better. We have all these options that like I get to choose from.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, I think your generation does have almost way too many options because you're swiping. It's like
Yeah.
there's an endless supply of people out there.
Yeah.
And obviously that wasn't the case, you know,
Mhm.
with my generation.
Yeah.
There was a lot more. I mean, there was a lot more. You really kind of try out someone for a while. I mean, there were people out there, maybe more guys than women, who were like dating multiple people at a time.
Right.
But I never doubt it's anything like it is today, just because, again, it
No.
was harder to meet people. It
Exactly.
wasn't like going to a store and just like
I
people
know,
just
which
laid out.
I feel like it's almost better that way. Like I don't want to discredit online dating because so many people have met their person that way, but being able to just get to know somebody without thinking you have a plethora of options allows you to actually go through the motions of what it means to actually learn who somebody is and not just make your first judgments or decisions off of 1 or 2 dates because no one's on their best behavior or their authentic self on a 1 to 2 date fucking ratio.
Plus, with the online, you're doing so much upfront questions and answers, either texting, I guess you guys text them on those apps
Yeah.
mostly, then it's because that's night and day than when you're sitting across from someone and even asking the same questions.
Right. You can feel energy and
It's
like pick up on someone's even like body language and their tone and their voice and different things like that.
right. And I would guess, since so many people ask the same questions, when you're doing it online, I'm picturing people just cut and pasting what they say all the time to that question answer.
Literally, even my client the other day, she's like, "Why do they always ask me how my day was?" Okay. I went to work. I didn't have a good day. My day was just my day. Like, come up with something different. Like, I appreciate the gesture, but like every single person that DMs her, how was your day? How was your day? How was your day? And I'm like, well, this is where
Right.
you pay attention to like if they're taking the time to read your profile, are they picking up on things that you said you liked, like asking cute and creative questions that way. But it just feels like so much more work, even since I was online dating, because I met Anthony in 2014. It was like right when online dating started getting really popular. It was almost like you were embarrassed to tell people that you met online still during that time.
Well,
What?
I mean, I met Bill online in 2002.
You did?
Wait, I never even told you that?
No, I had no idea you guys met online in 2002. Like I had 0 idea.
Whenever we met in 2002 or 2003, we met on which one was it back then?
There was only one like Match.com or something. There was like only
Match.com, thank
Match.
you. We met on Match.com.
What? I did not even know that. How long did you
Well,
guys talk
I didn't tell
online?
many people.
It
I didn't tell many people because no one was I mean, let's be real. We were living in Westlake Village, and back then it was like the sleepiest tiny little town. I
yeah,
was working 12-hour days and I had 3 kids. Not a lot of room there to meet people.
fair. Only the guys at your work probably, and they were all taken, weren't they?
Yeah, and they were all 10 years younger than me. I worked with a whole bunch of kids, so I was like
Hey, listen.
mom at the company. And everyone in Westlake Village back then, I was maybe one of 2 scarlet lettered divorced moms.
No.
So there wasn't really any place to meet anyone. And but it wasn't like that whole back and forth for days. He texted, like within a week we planned, let's just meet for dinner. And
So it was easy. So it was if it was effortless, like what kind of like attracted you to Bill to begin with?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either with Anthony, and I think it might just confidently be like we lived close to each other. I think that we lived around the corner from each other and we had no idea until we were walking to our date and we ran into each other on the corner and we were like, "Are
That's so
you?"
cute.
And he's like, "Are you?" And then we were like stuck walking to the venue together and I realized he literally lived 2 blocks behind me. So it's like how many times did we actually pass or each other's, like, paths over the time,
That's
and
total rom-com meet greet,
I know. I
right? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we
I have
had
to
the same
remember that
subway
for
stop.
my next book.
Yeah.
I may use
You want well, he
um
thinks I stalked him when we broke up. We broke up for like 3 months, and we had the same subway route, and so for the first time I ran into him on the car I was, like, leaving work, and he was coming home from the gym, and I ran into him once on the subway car, like, just serendipitously, like, after we had stopped talking to each other, and I was like, "Oh, like, okay, it's fate. We saw each other, whatever. He's gonna see me and remember that he loves me." That didn't really happen, so then I started he's convinced I stalked him, and I think it was just after that one fateful time I realized, listen, maybe if I leave at this time and he's leaving at this time and I get in this subway car, maybe I'll see him. And then I saw him a few more times and the rest is history. So maybe I did stalk him a little.
It's okay. Hey, at least you didn't get a dog.
Exactly. I don't
But,
even know what we were talking about. What were we even talking about before?
how meeting people was so different in your generation, my generation, and then my reveal that I met Bill online.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't know what attracted you to him.
He was I think we were both so different than anything we've ever dated,
Yeah.
you know? He was a pretty nerdy engineer.
Mhm.
Um, we were both divorced. We were both single parents. He had full-time custody of his kid like I did with you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
And so I think at first it was just kinda easy, and then, to be honest, after, your dad, not that he wasn't a nice person in his own right,
Yeah.
he was just a nice guy.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't flashy or anything, he didn't make a ton of money, hard worker, but yeah, I think that's how most people would describe him, right? Just a
Yeah.
nice guy.
Yeah, he's just, like, nice, and he's just cares. I mean, he's just easygoing, I feel like, for the most part, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, him and Anthony sometimes remind me of each other, but,
Well, quite a bit. Yeah, I would totally agree. Yeah, just like mentions, they're just, like, both just nice guys.
yeah, because there are certain qualities about KO that I learned that could never, ever, ever work in a relationship for me, in a relationship dynamic for me moving forward, and I'm sure you learned the
Mm.
same thing about your dynamic with dad.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, and it's also important to know, that like we kind of said in the beginning, when we talk about relationships, whether they're romantic relationships, friends,
Yeah.
um, some aren't meant to be forever, right?
Well, how do you know I mean, clients ask me this all the time, but I'm curious your response. It's like, how do you know when you're working through a hard season versus in staying something that's, like, already over?
Well, I can only like kind of say that with your dad,
Mhm.
obviously, because literally I've had 3 boyfriends and I married 2 of them.
I had
Your
3
dad.
boyfriends and only married 1. There were a lot of hookups in there, but, which is actually really weird that you just said 3 because I've heard that there's, like, a magic number 3. Like, I've heard that before where you have, like, 3 serious relationships, like, 1 shows you what love could be, the second one teaches you all of these
Yes.
lessons, and then your 3rd one is where you get to implement all those lessons.
Yes, there's someone who wrote a book on that. It's like a short book. I
Yeah,
think I yeah, I think I've heard that too.
weird.
But when do you know? Well, I mean, I knew the day I married your dad that I should marry him, you know. That morning I knew I should call it off.
So you just
And
didn't trust your intuition.
yeah, and also there were 200 people at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I was stubborn as hell. Um, but when my dad, when your grandfather came to the suite to pick me up, to walk me down the aisle, he said, "You don't have to do this. We can just have a kick-ass party."
I mean,
Everyone knew but me.
I think you
I mean, I
knew, but
got the
it's
kid, it's almost that wonderful, of course,
right. But I do think you
Um,
knew, it's just hard to actually make that decision. It's hard to just kinda, like, not worry also about what everybody else around you is gonna think if I call off the wedding because you just there were 200 people there, okay, what if there were only, like, 5 of your closest friends? Then what would you have done?
but I was stubborn. I mean, because the 2 closest people at the time in my life, told me months before not to marry him, and that was the only fights I ever got with those 2 people, Wendy and your uncle. Separately, they both said, "You're making a huge mistake. What are you doing?"
Mm,
And all my other friends were getting married at the time, and, I felt the pressure, and
wow.
it
Well, that's
was
a whole 'nother thing, and I feel like so many people fall into the timeline trap of, like we've been together for so long, everybody else is getting married. This is just like the next step. And then like you realize
Right.
we're not compatible. Like, what are we doing? But you're already too far along and you're like, my clock is ticking. I have to have babies. I can't start over.
Exactly, exactly, and then you end up staying for a long time because, I mean, I thought about leaving him, we almost split up before I had you, and then I had you, and
That changes everything.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and then when I thought about leaving after I had you, fertility is not a problem in our family, clearly. Then, surprise, surprise, I had the twins. So, all
Uh,
3 none of y'all were planned. You were
no.
loved and wanted, but you
But do you think that that
exactly.
relationship taught you more about yourself than maybe than anything about love?
Um, oh, absolutely. Yeah. I learned a lot about myself being married to your dad and what I would put up with and what I wouldn't, but it took me going to really bottoming out in the marriage before I left.
Mm. So it seems like it's a common thing that there is always a bottom out before something big ends up happening.
Yeah, maybe you're the relationship coach. Do you find that with your clients?
I think so, which is why sometimes I try and like portray the message of being more proactive than it is to be reactive because none of us learned how to be in healthy relationships growing up. Like I will say this, everybody who follows me know I'll say that we should have been taught at least the basics in school. We don't have the skills to be proactive to know what to do to handle before hard moments actually happen or before you have to have hard conversations or how to pay attention to the signs. And everything is always so reactive. We're always reacting to like the huge blow up fight where things ended up getting like, I don't know, verbally hard or verbally abusive, or like we had this crazy moment and then now we're reacting afterwards instead of learning what it takes to create good relationships moving forward. So, I do think that it's just a
Yeah,
reactive mode. We always have to kind of like hit that rock bottom moment. But like, what if we were proactive to learn how to actually be emotionally intelligent and emotionally safe and available in our relationships? Then maybe we don't have those rock bottom moments, I guess is my point.
right. Well, I think what's also interesting when I look at your generation, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have a very small bar, you kids,
Yeah.
to face this on. But if I feel like you guys take a lot longer
Yeah.
today between starting to date and making that commitment to get married, which I think is really important. You have that piece. Most of you guys end up living together. Back when I was still young, living together was still kind of taboo. I mean, grandma and grandpa, I don't know even if to this day if they even knew your dad and I lived together in New York. We had
What?
separate phone lines in our apartment.
What the heck? That's actually crazy.
Because people weren't really living together very much back in the early '80s, early
That
mid
doesn't make sense
'80s.
to me. Like, I gotta know how someone is to live with. Like, what if you're dirty AF? Like, what if I don't even, no, 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 no.
A lot of my friends did not really live together much before they got married. They move in together once they got engaged often.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, when we moved in together in New York, we didn't tell mom and dad.
Wasn't one of the big problems also between the two of you a living together dynamic that could have maybe even, I mean, you guys did live together first, but like dad was very OCD, like, and you are not. And that in itself is like a living thing. Like that is
That's such a polite way to say it, honey.
I mean, there's a huge difference. Like dad like is very meticulous about his stuff. And that is a lifestyle difference that you guys never were able to overcome.
That was our first enormous fight. When we did move in that apartment in New York, I was, so proud of myself for trying to be Little Miss Homemaker.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, and we're talking 40 some years ago, 40 years ago. I lined the kitchen cabinets, with liner paper.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how crooked it was.
Nah.
You know me.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so great. And when your dad saw it, he blew up. Like, totally blew up. He started yelling at me. And I was like so proud of being a little, Susie
Yeah.
homemaker.
Yeah.
And I like physically can remember myself running out of the apartment and going to my friend Laura's. And of course, she got wine and whatever.
Right.
But that was like our first huge fight. And that should have been my There's a little inappropriate reaction
Yeah.
to some faulty paper liner.
Like, one thing KO used to say to me all the time, I let myself go. I've healed a lot of that kind of shit, but, like, I think that there's always, like, that deep fear that that was, like, one thing that he, like, hit a nerve for me, and now it's, like, looks and, like, my body are such, like, a
Mm.
insecurity sometimes.
I actually found a journal that I was keeping when I was pregnant with you,
Mhm.
and I still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
And in it, there's a entry that says, "I don't even want him in the delivery room because they'll probably tell me I'm doing it wrong."
That's so sad. But, like, did Bill heal that part of you? Because I almost feel like being with Anthony healed that insecurity of me letting myself go, because he created a safe space to make me never feel that way.
I think Bill certainly helped, but I think I really healed it when I was single and just raising you guys
Mhm.
because I did really well
Yeah.
on my own. It was hard. We had really hard times, but it was the first time I really had started a career. I mean, I made enough money to buy my own house for us.
Mhm.
Mom and dad didn't help me buy that first Panamint house, you know? And so I think I really helped heal myself, and I was really more proud of myself. I was okay and I could make it on my own. And Bill, yeah, I mean, Bill embraces my non-OCD semi
Yeah.
disorganization.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we always like we start the healing process, I think, within ourselves with those types of things by showing us it can be safe, like whether it was you designing the house on yourself and not having to worry about the paper and still life is going to carry on and be just fine if the
Yeah.
cabinet liner is not crooked, right? Well, but then Bill also making you feel like you can be yourself, that, like, heals that part of us that maybe was so
Yes.
scared that we are gonna do things wrong or incorrectly because
Right.
he just embraces.
And then finally, that person almost thinks it's kind of adorable and it's just part of you. So like kind of full circle in terms of thinking in terms of relationships and how they last. And again, I'm a big believer that some aren't meant to last forever. They are meant to give us our lessons.
Yeah, I think, like, some taught us how to love, some taught us what love isn't, and some taught us where we were abandoning ourselves in the process and how we could be doing better ourselves with our own relationship with self.
100%. And I think if anyone ever has feelings about these type of things, whether it's losing a relationship through growth or through death, what really changed my life in this thought process is have you ever heard of Carolyn Meese?
No.
MYSS.
Mm-mm.
Um, she's a spiritual teacher. She's also like a medical intuitive. And she wrote a book called Soul Contracts,
Oh, okay.
which is life changing.
Hmm.
And it talks about, and this is the woo side of me, it talks about where our souls make contracts
Yeah.
and we relive our lives over and over.
Mhm.
But you make a contract with a soul, and then they come into your life in one form or another to teach you, to heal you, to maybe heal something that happened in a previous life.
Yeah.
And they may not be in your life forever, but for those moments.
Yeah.
And I really believe that with Anki and Wendy,
Mhm.
we had that soul contract.
Yeah.
Um, and so that really, once I heard that and really started adapting it, that was one of the times that I became okay with them leaving when
Mm.
they did. They weren't meant to be here forever in my life. They were meant to come and teach me a lesson.
I mean, I feel like your whole life changed even after they passed. Like, you got way more spiritual and able to kind of learn how to regulate and come back to yourself and almost like create your own peace once those contracts ended.
100%. And also learning this is where when I mentioned in all relationships, the gratitude from it,
Mhm.
um, because of the learning and the lessons.
Yeah.
And people think that's kind of crazy, but I learned this from another one of my teachers, Elizabeth
Mhm.
Winkler.
Yeah.
She lost her mother. She was very young.
Mm.
And then she started her spiritual journey. And she said that she was in a meditation with our other teacher, David G. And it was a gratitude meditation.
Yeah.
And she said it was the oddest thing, but it came to her when she was listening what she was grateful for, and her mother's death came up.
That's
And she's like, how can I be grateful for mother's death?
yeah.
And then when she looked back, she goes, at 20, that started her on a whole new journey. of spirituality. She went and spent time with monks and she became a therapist. And now she is a spiritual guide. She goes,
Yeah.
none of this life would have happened if that hadn't started me on it. So
Yeah.
it's not being sad or whatever that you've lost that person, but finding the gratitude in something even as difficult as that.
Yeah.
And to your point, I started my journey when Anki and Wendy were sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's some gratitude in lessons of that period of life taught me.
I mean,
And
I
I
even
think you
said
can play that to all relationships.
totally, and I said to you, I think the other day, I was like, "The wound really got me how I am today," and you're like, "Yeah, the wound is the way," because I was like, I'm not grateful I mean, I'm grateful for my relationship with KO, but, like, it was crazy and abusive and insane and intense, but, like, I would literally not even be happily married today. I would not be able to implement all of the healthy relationship tactics I've learned, like, and become honestly an amazing partner and attracted an amazing partner, become even like closer with you,
Yeah,
our dynamic. So I feel like even though those things hurt and they suck in the moment, it sounds so cheesy and so cliche, but there's a reason for everything that we go through.
I know.
You were skeptical on whether there's a reason for everything on our last episode, but I think we just kind of worked through it that there
Yes, we did. Yes,
is.
there is. There is.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate you being here. I can't wait to see what we talk about next. And I don't know if you have any reflections, think about what relationship did you think that would last forever? What do you understand about it now and love that like you didn't see back then? And, what lessons did you learn? And maybe the wound was your way too.
Love that. Absolutely.
Mm.
Well, thank you. I love our stream of consciousness conversations here, kind of all over the place, but hopefully, you guys out there listening can keep
Follow.
up and it's making sense.
I mean, yeah. Haven't you ever been in a room with a mother and a daughter and you're kind of just like, oh, wait, how did we? Oh, okay, cool.
Exactly. We're keeping it real here.
Exactly. All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Bye, honey. Love you.